Well, things are moving along. I just opened the garage door and there's a really heavy rainstorm outside and it's ice cold in here, so it just covered the whole car in in moisture. Yeah, okay. I got the shocks. They're back. I brought these over, just like I did with the rears. I brought these over to my local Monroe Muffler and Brake. It's a chain. Normally I wouldn't trust a chain to do something like this, but honestly, this is not a difficult job. For somebody with the right tools, this is an easy job. Anybody can do this. Anyways, all we got to do is line up the mounting posts with this mount. Now these interesting. So these shocks have little mounts on the side. These are for anti-lock brakes, or anti-lock brake wires, which this car does not have. So these don't do anything. We're not worried about them. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in my vise. And we're going to, so in order to make this correct, we have to I've got to turn the hat to match the direction of the mount. And the mounts have to be exactly perpendicular to the mount studs. So, maybe or no, it has to be directly in line with the mount studs. Like that. Maybe a little further. I'm going to need something a little bigger. Yeah, I shouldn't open that door because all that warm, wet air just came in like a... Yeah, that happened. It's probably a little too far. No, that's about right. Okay. I can only assemble one side right now because I'm still waiting for one bolt. If you watched the previous video, I broke one of the ball joint mount bolts, and I'm very sorry, and I'll never do it again, I promise. But no, one of the bolts broke, so I had to order a new one. And I wasn't going to go to Ace Hardware and pick one up off the shelf from the hardware bin because, well, that's just not the right thing to do. There's a reason these bolts are made to exacting standards, and I was going to replace it with one from the dealer. And that's going to cost, it actually cost me about $5 for the bolt, plus whatever for shipping and handling. I just checked the tracking on that. It should be here as soon as tomorrow. With any luck, but as late as Wednesday. Now on Wednesday I'll be getting the other parts I ordered, which include an oxygen sensor, a factory, not a factory, but a Denso oxygen sensor, as well as oil filter and a couple other miscellaneous maintenance type things. See, look at how much nicer that spring looks now that I've cleaned it. Isn't it beautiful? Welcome back. Okay, so yeah, in today's video we're going to install at least one side of the shocks. We're not going to do the other side because I don't have the new bolt yet. But we can start working on this side at least. That'll be fun, right? So we're going to tilt this spindle forward. We've removed the upper control arm bolt. I'm going to take the nuts off the studs on the new front strut. Now these are universal either side, left or right. All right. Now, I believe typically the ABS sensor bracket is going to face inside, not to the front, but to the back. I'm pretty sure that's how they typically go in on an ABS car. I don't have one of those. But make extra protection. Make sure we don't scratch up the paint on the fender. And we just tilt the whole assembly inward. Get my camera focused here. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, so as we swing this this assembly in, we want to make sure that we clear the fender lip. I saw a video of some guys doing this job on a similar, well, basically the same Miata. And they were, I think they dented the the fender, which is what we don't want to do. It was entertaining to watch. Actually downright horrifying. Oh yeah, it reminds me. There were these little plastic pieces that came off the car that I'm going to put back on. Since they were there, they're meant to, what they're designed to do is protect the paint from rubbing, I guess. I don't know. But these were on the originals, and I'm going to put them back on the new ones. They didn't hurt anybody when they were there, so we're going to put them right back. Kind of clean them up a little bit. Yeah, they came off the car. They're going to go back on. And the new shocks didn't come with new ones. So just kind of clean these up a bit. Get all the dirt and sand and shit off. Okay. So I'm going to just stick this on there. Yeah, I don't know what the purpose is, but God put them there, so I'm going to put them right on back. So. We're going to have to turn it a little bit, maybe. There we go. That wasn't so freaking hard, now was it? I'm going to put the top bolts back in. Now, I'm actually going to be using a torque wrench on these bolts because I feel that given the high stakes of the front suspension on this car, that, yeah, maybe using a torque wrench wouldn't be such a terrible idea. So, let's do that. Let me get my, I'm going to first drive them in with a 12mm socket and an extension. But we're going to put the brakes together on this side. We're going to do it. We're going to do it all. Let me get a bigger extension. Yeah, that's better. Now what's interesting is the rear shocks did not come with these lock nuts. They came with regular old nuts. So I don't know why that is. It just seems kind of strange. But the front came with all new lock nuts. Again, I don't know why they wouldn't include them for the rears. But I used what was included regardless. Okay, so now we look up what the torque specs are. I'm going to use my my Haynes manual. See what the torque is supposed to be on those, and we'll set our torque wrench up. So under suspension, right in the very front, this is what I like about these Haynes books, because right in the front they actually give you all the torque specs for all pertinent components. Front shock absorber, upper mounting nuts, 22 to 26 foot-pounds. That's really not that much. But given the size of the stud and the nut, that's not surprising. So we grab our handy torque wrench, and we're going to set it to about 25 foot-pounds. Let's see, that's 25 foot-pounds. I don't know how well calibrated this thing is, but I'm sure it'll do the job just fine. Let's just get that down there. Here we are. Listen for the click. I'm going to just snug this one up, and then I'm going to snug up the other one. There it is. There it is. 26 foot-pounds. You can hear the rain's really coming down. Now these little beauty caps came on the originals. We're going to put them back on the new ones. Just whatever. Okay, step 2, we're going to put our upper control arm back. First, we want to make sure we put all the right mounting hardware where it belongs. There should be a big flat washer on the outside. And let's see, there should be a heavy-duty washer on the inside. I should have 2 of those. I should have 2 nuts. You'll notice a lot of these factory suspension bolts, they have this, look for this little pattern. It looks like grooves. So what that is after they install these nuts, they go in there with a crimping tool that goes in and actually crimps the nut to lock it on. I believe this is done after assembly. Maybe one of you folks can confirm that. But yeah. Okay. So you can tell, if you ever want to know which size washer came off with what, look for telltale marks. You can see that this washer came off of this piece here. Okay, we got our long bolt. We're going to drive the bolt in this way first. Okay. Now, I got lucky with this car because it really hasn't seen a lot of harsh weather. And all the bolts and screws and nuts and washers, all that hardware has been spared really any corrosion of any kind. And the disassembly process on this car has been nothing but smooth sailing. And reassembly is consequently affected in a positive way as well. But oftentimes you're going to find one of these cars, be it a Miata or whatever your dream car happens to be, and it's going to be a lot more difficult due to heavy rust. And I'll tell you, my first car was one such example. It was a 1987 Volkswagen GTI. Today, that car is actually quite desirable because it is the original, well, the second generation GTI. Well, anyway, that car was a rusted pile. It originally came from Canada, and it wound its way into New Hampshire, and it was absolutely, the car was trash. By the time I got it, it was about 14 years old, if that. No, it was 14 years old, and it was just a rusted pile. So we're not going to torque this down yet. We're going to wait until we're done with the rest of the assembly. Okay. We want to get the lower shock mount in, shock bolt, and that is very easy to do. It's going to be, is it this one? Yeah, it's this one right here. I already went ahead and I cleaned up all my hardware with a wire wheel so that everything threads on nice and smoothly. This way there's no rust or any other issues. I don't know where this bolt goes. Oh wait, no, that's the other side. Never mind. I'm not that absent-minded. Well, although that's debatable. Okay. Now, like I said, right now our shock is a little twisted. I'm gonna have to give it a little. Oh, I got it. So what we're going to do is just tap it in, give it a little bit of twisting action here somehow. Got it. Okay, perfect. There we are. Put the lock washer on. Again, we're not going to torque this down just yet. I've got something planned for that. So let's see. What do we got left? The sway bar link has to be put back. And it goes like that. So we got to find out. This is the sway bar bolt. Let's see if you guys can see what I'm doing now. You really can't from that angle, unfortunately, but you're not missing much. I'm not going to refilm this for the other side, so I'm not going to make you guys sit through all that. Although something does seem a little fishy about this. I guess that's about right. Yeah, that's about right. So the bolt goes in. Let's see. Yeah, that lines up nice. Replacing the sway bar hardware was not necessary. A lot of things I've done so far to this car were just totally unnecessary. I want to make sure I point that out. A lot of this has been pretty much just not really necessary. I'm going to hand tighten this bolt here. Okay. Now, all we need to do is raise the assembly to basically ride level. Use a floor jack for that. So let's get the floor jack. Just like with the rear, if you watch that whole debacle, you're going to get the floor jack positioned. Get it underneath the spindle. And we're going to lift the assembly just to the point where it takes the load off the jack stand. Just to get it to its normal ride height. That is the name of the game. We don't want the car falling on us. So for the record, I asked the company, or the gentleman who did the work, I asked him what the old ones, how they felt. What he told me, okay, right now, what bothers me is the weight is off the jack stand, but it's still going up. So, let's see here. Okay. I believe, yeah, the weight's off the jack stand. You can hear the big jack moving. I think that's going to be right where we sit. Yeah, that's it. Now it's not going up anymore. So at this point, I'm going to just bump test the car, make sure it's not unstable. Okay. Let's go ahead and start fastening things down. Apparently I don't have the right socket size for the for that, so let me go get those. Alright, so now I'm going to get myself set up with some tools. I should have an extension. There it is. I'm going to put for this nut here, or this bolt, you're looking at a 21 millimeter. Okay, it's a little bit too long. Let's see if we can't rig something else up that works a little better. How about the torque wrench? Will that fit where it needs to be? I think so. If we play our cards right. Okay. Now on the other side, I don't have a 21 millimeter wrench, but I do have a 13/16, and that fits just fine. Now I'm going to set my torque wrench for this bolt here, and according to the book, which is right over here. The upper control arm for the front. Upper control arm, pivot bolt and nut. 87 to 101 foot-pounds. That's quite a bit. So why don't we set our torque wrench to about 90 foot-pounds? I'll try to find a happy medium there. I don't want to go too far or too under. And that's a lot of cranking. 90 foot-pounds. All right, here we go. It's a lot of foot-poundage. Right now, the car has a couple of backup points of support. We've got the jack under the subframe, we've got the jack under the spindle, and we've got the jack stand, which is mere a centimeter from its jacking point. So, just for those of you who want to know. That's tight. My God. Listen for that snap. Got it. Okay. That was fun. Now, we're going to do the the shock bolt. According to my book, the front shock absorber, the lower bolt and nut, 54 to 68 pounds. So we're going to set it to 60 pounds. Here we go. Bing, 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 bing. 60 pounds. Okay. Tighten our lock nut. And here we go. Now these matter, really. They matter in a big way because the torque is what keeps those bushing cores, the steel centers, from spinning. And if you have it under torqued, you're going to have a problem. That's not to say that you don't have to use it, or you have to use a torque wrench. Lots of people don't use torque wrenches, and I don't judge them because for years I was one of them. But then I got a torque wrench and I'm like, why don't I use it? I mean, I got the damn thing. Why don't I freaking use it? So I'm going to use the torque wrench on the bolt. Probably should use it on the nut for drag reasons, but whatever. There is a right and a wrong way to eat a Reese's. Just saying. They just don't want you to know that. For a second there, I thought I almost hit the fender with my torque wrench. That would have pissed me off. There we go. Done. Okay. So we got the top bolts, we got the bottom bolt, we got the control arm, upper control arm bolt. We did not loosen the lower control arm, so that's fine. We now have to do the. Now I'm not going to use a torque wrench for the sway bar. I'm just going to use my intuition. And just to confirm, that should be a 14 millimeter, so I need a 14 millimeter wrench. And I think I have a socket here. I got a 12. And there's my 14. I didn't grab my wrench. Alright, now let's try to re-angle you. So I'm right here. Everybody see? Class? Okay. I don't think I'm going to need to torque these, but just get them good and tight. Good. And this one's going to be a little trickier. Did that too, but okay. No, I'm going to have to use an extension. If you haven't already done this, invest in a series of socket extensions. Swivels and socket extensions. That's one of those things they don't, a lot of people don't have those in their garages. But believe it or not, I use almost all Harbor Freight stuff. And I like this. I've had great luck with it. My father, who was an auto mechanic for a career for a number of years, he had all Snap-on stuff. And a lot of that stuff got lost over the years. Here we go. We're going to gracefully, at this point, we're good to let her down. There we go. Okay. And now we put the brakes back together. We don't need that anymore. Okay. So that is how you install a front shock on your vintage Miata. Wasn't it fun? I thought so. Okay, here's where things get messy. I don't remember which of these goes to this caliper because, well, they're not clearly marked, and I know I put a mark in them, but after I painted them, the mark is now invisible. So let's figure this out. So here's my caliper, and one of these is designed to receive the little pin, and the other one receives the big pin. So here's the big pin, and here's the little pin. Well, oh, you know what? I have to put the, I got my new Carlson brake caliper kit. This has new bumpers, not bumpers, but new grommets and shit. Okay. So this grommet goes on this side. You can tell it's lipped for it. So we'll snap it on somehow. Come on, you. Get in there. This one goes here. And it goes through like that. Sound effects are optional. But what we can do to make that easier, well, first let's get this one on. There we go. Almost. There we go. Yeah, look at that. Now this one, we have to shove it in. So what we're going to do is we're going to use some silicone spray. Just, come on. There we go. It's getting all the propellant and none of the silicone. That'll make it a little easier. So we just kind of slide this guy in there, shove it in there, whatever. Get in there. Can't go the other way for obvious reasons. There we go. Come on, come on, you got it. You can do it. You can do it. My fingers are so damn slippery. It's gonna get it in. There we go. There we go. Doesn't want to go in. Oh, come on now. Come on. There we go. Ugh. Get in there. Almost. Almost there. Once I see the other end, I can grab it and pull it. Come on now. There we go. Now I can grab the other end and pretty much just pull it right through. There we go. There we go. Look at that. Nice, happy caliper. Okay. That was fun. So, which is it? Do we have the right side or the wrong side? I still don't know. Alright. So we got the little pin and the big pin. Looks like the little pin's going to go in this one. Yeah. What'd I tell you? Or did I get the wrong one? No, that's the right one. Let's see. Yeah, it's just really tight. But that's how it goes in. Okay. We're going to have to put some silicone lube on that. But answer your question. Caliper frame goes on like this. And on this caliper, the little pin is, at the top. So I think we got the right one. Pretty sure. Pretty sure. So, okay. Let's get it mounted. There should be some pretty beefy bolts that hold this sucker on. Make sure I get the right ones. Beefy! Uh-huh. I think I'm missing one. Oh no, it's over there. Alright, here's the bolts. I've already, once again, I've cleaned these up thoroughly. So they look brand new again. Now if you think for a... Oh wait, what have we forgotten? We need something. Can you tell me what it is? We forgot something. Hold on. Brake disc. Yeah, turns out it needs a brake disc to stop. Then, only then, do you start mounting your caliper frame. I've been looking at Miata values lately just to see what this car is actually worth, and I gotta say it's still not worth what I've got into it, and it probably never will be. But if I needed a quick, maybe like $8,000 in cash, that's about what this car is worth. About that much. To the right buyer, and it would take a while to sell because we're kind of in the middle of a pandemic right now, and I think people are not looking to buy convertibles. Alright, let's try that again. There we go. But what's happening right now is, overall though, the market for NA Miatas, the first gen Miatas, it has gone up, and it seems to be on an upward trend. This car has bottomed out depreciation wise. I wouldn't call it a good investment by any stretch, but it has reached a level. Oops, it has reached the bottom of its curve. Probably about 3 or 4 years ago. And at that point, cars like this, surviving examples that are still in solid, good condition, they have gone up in value. And they're continually rising in value. Not to say this car is worth a ton of money, but it is definitely worth something. But I intend to drive this car, so I really intend to rack up the miles. I don't daily drive it, and I never will, but unless something horrible happens and I have to. But it has reached the bottom of its depreciation curve. That is the point where a car can be worth no less. It has finally reached the bottom. And every car has that point where they finally reach almost zero value. And in some cases, that value just sort of plateaus. And as long as it's a good running vehicle, it's worth, you know, a couple $1,000 or a couple $100 to somebody who needs the parts. I mean, every vehicle, regardless of condition, has some value. People don't realize that. But even the junkiest of junk cars is worth scrap value, which is a couple $100. And that is the truth. Every vehicle's worth something. Again, regardless of condition, because scrap value is based on metal prices. The price of a pound of steel or a ton of steel, however they measure it. So the car is always going to be worth its weight in scrap steel or aluminum, however the case may be. But what's happening with some of these cars, especially 90s cars, some of the more collectible ones, like the the old Toyota Celicas and Ford Taurus SHOs, the sportier cars, they are actually starting to become collector's items. I never thought I'd live to see the day, but here we are. Now this little bung is giving me a problem because I knocked it off. And come on now, get on that lip, you son of a... Get on there. What the hell? What do I gotta do? What do I gotta do? It's on now. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to get a little bit of this. Actually, I think we should put the pads on now. What do you think? Let's get the pads on. One thing I did not expect, the value of a Volkswagen Beetle, an original Beetle, seems to have reached a point where they went up in value. People started restoring them left and right. And now, I mean, they haven't lost value, but I'm starting to see them for sale for a lot less than I would expect. I'll just put it that way. I've always wanted a Beetle. I never bought one. Always wanted one, though. Alright, so we got... Are these all the same? Hey, look at it. No, they are not all the same. Should I have put these on first? No, that looks like an outside one. Yeah, these clip on like that, I think. But they don't clip on very tightly. Let's see. There's that one. There's that one. There should be 4 per side. Yeah, these aren't... these are what keep the pad tight, and they help to reduce pad squeal. They are necessary, no matter what they tell you. They are necessary. Okay, that goes on like that. They just look like they're the wrong size, and I should have some of the old ones here somewhere, just to confirm. Even more of these. What does this say? That's just generic. Okay. Yeah. They just seem like they're too thin. These should clip on and stay on their own accord. All right, we'll just put the pad on, I guess. And that'll hold them in place. So the outer pads do not have the squeal sensor things. The inner pads do. Let me just confirm that. Let's see. No, actually, that's kind of funny. These new pads don't even have that built in. They're all the same. Okay then. Yeah, they're all the same pad. No different. Same casting. Same backing plate. Same everything. So. Okay. Okay. Oh, that ain't right. Okay, I figured it out. I had these on backwards. I'm not perfect. There we go. There's one. And let's do the other side. Looks like this one's going to go on like that on the top. But yeah, I have always wanted a Volkswagen Beetle, an original one, not a 90s one. Even though when those 91s, those 90 the new Beetle, sorry, we'll just call it what it is. When the new Beetle came out, I was in 8th grade, I believe, and I thought they were cool, but they really didn't impress me. They were definitely a very effeminate vehicle. Volkswagen pulled no punches to design a car that would appeal to females, and that's, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not the first time it's been done in the auto industry, and it won't be the last. Maybe it will be the last, actually, given the state of things. But anywho's, yeah, they're trying to be very gender neutral with their cars these days. Everybody's trying to be more, well, except Dodge. Except Chrysler, they get a free pass. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up now because I'm gonna say something controversial and I'll get banned from YouTube. Anyway, so we're gonna put a light coating of this this silicone-based caliper grease on this pin. We're not gonna load it up with grease, so you don't want to do that. You just want enough for it to provide a lifetime of lubrication to the caliper. I know that's a lot to ask, but that's what we have to do. And it should just slide right in. I'm going to put a little bit of this stuff, just a tad, at the beginning of at the entry point of the boot. I'm going to just tell you that. I'm going to put it just at the entry point so that whatever gets wiped off as it comes in will not, it will be replenished. I'll just put it that way. So you don't want to load it up. You just put enough on there. And we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Just a little bit. I'm going to take this off. Put that on like that. So at this stage, we've already compressed the caliper. Make sure that boot didn't get knocked off. But yeah, when I was younger, I was a Volkswagen man. I just loved Volkswagens. I don't know why. I just did. And always wanted a Beetle. Couldn't afford a Beetle because at that point they were really going up in value. And the ones that I could afford were complete, total rusted piles of shit. And maybe with a little bit of rookie body work. But I was always the kind of kid, I wanted everything to be perfect. Absolutely perfect condition. Everything had to be just so. And that has basically plagued me in many ways throughout life. Everything I have has to be perfect. But one thing that's done, for me anyway, is it's taught me how to fix things. Because nobody cares. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to tighten up the caliper bolts. These are the pins that support the caliper. Oh, before I do that, hold on, put the brakes on. You're going too far ahead of yourself. One thing I forgot to do, and that was to put in the factory pad spreading clip things. These, I imagine, are more often than not lost. You bring your car to, you know, the local brake and muffler shops. I don't believe they put these back on, but I'm gonna. Because, well, I'm just that much of a prick. So we're gonna put those back on. Come on. Oh yeah, it's stuck in there. There we go. Come on now. Come on. You got. There we go. Okay. There we go. Now I'm gonna put the big bolt back in. Where is that? Oh, it's already there. So we're gonna leave that in. We can leave the caliper hanging. It's no big deal. It ain't no thing. All right. This car still had these. These are designed to keep the pads from rubbing when the pedal is released. And they just slip in like that. There should be two of these. The brake kit did not come with any of this stuff. So we're reusing the originals. But there's nothing wrong with that. They're fine. But their job is to just keep those pads from sticking to the rotors. And since this car never had any brake noise, I imagine they work pretty well. So, yeah, the wind is really picking up out there. That's why I'm so glad I finally have a garage. Man, that makes my life so much easier. Okay, here we go. Now we can start bolting it down. Ooh. Well, I got lucky that time. See, you hear that? I hit the fender. See? Yeah. But I would rather hit the fender than the guy at Meineke. You know what I'm saying? I would rather hurt my car than somebody else. Because I have my only myself to blame, not somebody else. Oh, come on now, you son of a... Just thread in there. There we go. Ah, yes. This is how simple brake jobs are. Anybody can do it. Anyone, including me. But, like I said, a lot of times you bring these cars to, you know, discount brake, tire, and lube places, and they don't do such a careful job. You know, they aren't going to use the high-quality pads unless you tell them to. And, you know, they're going to... Those little clips that I just showed you, those are going to get lost. They're not going to put those back on because it takes time. And they're paid, oftentimes, by the number of jobs they can bang out in a day. So, depending on how their pay structure is. Again, not saying that all, you know, tire and lube places are bad. I'm just saying some of them just don't really have that level of care that you may think they have. Oh, there it is. I think this is the socket I'm looking for, right? Maybe the one. So that brake job is done, at least for the front, for this side. I can't finish the rest of the job until I get that bolt that I'm waiting for. That should be tight enough. We don't want to over tighten it. Remember, this is... Those pins are just there to keep the caliper from falling off. They're not that important. Just kidding. But this caliper should move freely, and it does. And we're going to get a little rubbing until everything breaks in. That's normal. That's totally normal. I should have 4 of these clips. I have 3, so the other one must have fallen. I'm going to put these in this little container here, so that when we're ready to do the other side, we have everything we need ready to go. Now, as an added bonus, where'd it go? It's got to be here. We're missing 1 clip. Couldn't have gone far. I'm sure it's here somewhere. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean up this brake hose with WD-40. We're going to clean it up, make it look nice and black again. One of my neighbors actually suggested I replace the hoses. Oh, I found the clip. Suggested I replace the hoses because they are, original to the car. That's not bad advice. That's actually very solid advice. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to do hydraulic work, and I honestly think these hoses are just fine. I really, really believe that. So I just wanted to point that out. I have, again, it's been brought to my attention that maybe I should do it because he drives a 1971 Volvo, and his brake hoses just a couple years ago, one of them had let go. Honestly, the way these were made in Japan, just 25 years ago, I think they have a lot of life left in them. At least I hope so. I'm putting my life on the line for that. But yeah, doing brake lines, well, the rubber hoses anyway, the steel lines are fine. There's no rust at all on any of them, so not a concern there. But the rubber hoses, yeah, they're old. But I think they're okay. I mean, they don't show any exterior cracking, but his concern was it could be internal. Again, valid concern, but I think I'll take my chances. All right. I think we're ready to put the wheel on. And we're all buttoned up. I can't torque the lug nuts, but they're tight. That brake rub will go away once they all break in. That looks nice up top. Through the wheel well, looks beautiful. I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's great. I think it's amazing. Yeah, and because I bought these coated rotors, they will never rust. So, I just checked out my girlfriend's car. She's got a CX-5, and I put the same rotors on her car as I put on this same product line. And I did that about a year ago, and so far, her rotors are still brand new looking. They've already gone through one New England winter, salt and all. So only thing holding me up from finishing the job is 1 bolt that I had to buy from a dealer. 1 bolt. Otherwise, I could have this thing back on its wheels and I could take it for a test drive. Obviously, I wouldn't because the weather being what it is. I'm not going to do that, but if I wanted to, I could if I had that 1 bolt. Well, alright, that'll conclude our video. I'm not going to do any more on this suspension thing, but I think you guys got the idea. With a couple of hand tools, even you can do this job. The only thing that I need to mention is I did not do the shock assembly myself. I hired that out. Only because I bought a set of spring compressors and I was not successful in getting them to work. And at that point, I wasn't going to spend more money on tools I'm going to use once or 4 times. So I just said, you know what, I'm just going to send this out. And they did a fantastic job. Brought it to Monroe, which is just a chain store, just a muffler brake shop. And they did a fine job. They didn't, they were very friendly to me. They were very courteous. Called me when they were ready to pick up. I mean, I drop them off on my way to work, pick them up on my way back home. I mean, that's whatever. It cost me $80 sorry, it was $80 for the front, $80 for the rear, so $160. I'm sure if I shopped around, I could have found it a little bit cheaper. But just so you know, I mean, if you don't want to buy special tools, it's okay to farm stuff like that out. And it's such an easy job that it's not like I'm sending the cylinder head out to Meineke to be rebuilt. I mean, this is a very simple thing, and that's all those places do. All they do all day long is they assemble shock assemblies and struts. They know what they're doing. They have the tools. They know what they're doing. But it's okay to do that once in a while. If you don't have to, the way I do it, if I have to buy a tool that costs more than $100 that I'm going to use once, I try to find alternatives. There's got to be another way. Other people have had good luck with using, the suicide spring compressors. I don't like those. I really don't. They scare me. And after my bad experience that one time, I tried to compress it down, and I started bending the locking pins because they were spaced too far apart. They were meant for larger springs, clearly. I bought the wrong size. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to gamble with this. I'm going to just send it out. And I'm glad I did. So that's all I got to say about that. This car will be all ready to rock and roll in no time. And then once I get all the oil change stuff, I ordered it online because I went to 4 auto parts stores and not one of them had an air filter for this car. So I said, you know what? If I'm going to be paying shipping, I'll pay that shipping fee, and I'm going to buy a couple other things too. So those auto parts stores, they lost a lot of sales. I was going to buy everything. All I got to do now is buy oil. I don't have any oil, so I got to buy oil. I'm going to warm the motor up. I'm going to take it for a little drive, warm it up a little bit, bring it back into the garage, maybe get it washed, maybe this weekend. We'll see what happens. Then I'll drain the oil out, put fresh oil back in. I'm also going to top off the transmission, and the way I'm going to do that is while the car is jacked up like this, before I put this wheel back on, I'm going to go under the car and I'm going to overfill the transmission. I'm going to lower the car down to the ground with the cap off, with the fill cap off. We're going to put a pan under the car, and whatever leaks out, well, that's the overage. Whatever doesn't leak out, well, there you go. So we're going to top the transmission off. I decided I'm going to do that because I think it might be a wee bit low. So we're going to top it off and be done with that. The correct way to do it is to jack the whole car up or put it on a lift, take the cap off or take the fill plug off, pump it in until it drips out, and then once it starts dripping out, once it's done dripping out, then you put the cap back on. That's how you fill almost every gear case I've ever seen. I think Ford Model T engines, that's how you fill the sump. But anyway, we're going to do that. We're going to overfill it because it's sitting at an angle. I can't get the level right, so we're going to just overfill it, drop it down, let the excess pour out, jack it back up again, and then put the plug back in. And that's how I'm going to top off the transmission. So if you saw the previous video, I think we talked a little bit about that, and we actually showed you where the plug is, how to get it off, and what to seal it with. So till then, you guys have a great winter. Well, I mean, yeah, why not? Have a great winter. I don't give a shit. Anyway, okay, I gotta eat dinner now.